going on, Geeks and Geekettes? It's another edition of the Countdown City Geekcast. My name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me, I have not said this in a long time, is the man, the myth, the legend. You know him as JC.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Good to see y'all.
We
Yeah,
also got
tasty,
the
man.
we also got the man behind the magic, Joe Garcia.
What's up, everyone? Hey, I'm just happy to be on the show here. Me and JC at the same time.
It's been a while.
It's like a reunion of old friends.
I had to detox from Joe. That's probably what it was. So.
I don't know. Maybe I had to detox from
And then
JC.
we're back on talking Star Wars. So I know he's gonna piss me off, but it's gonna happen.
Hey, this is not gonna fool me twice no more, man. They ain't gonna sell me Ahsoka. I gotta see it first.
Absolutely. Don't get ahead of the show now. Don't get ahead of the
I
show.
know.
Last but not least, the one and only Retro Ray.
What's going on, guys?
Hey,
So
don't
we gotta-
forget to mention his Chihuahueño hat, man. That's a nice hat.
It's sexy. What is Theo Rudy say in the movie? That's sexy. All right, folks, we got a great
No
show for you
cabezón.
guys. We're going to be. What are you doing? What are you doing? We got a great show for you guys. We're going to be talking all about the Blue Beetle movie because a few more of us have seen it and want to get their thoughts out on the film. So we'll keep it non-spoilery when we begin our Blue Beetle discussion, so you guys don't have
Okay.
to turn off the video. But we'll let you know when the spoiler stuff happens, and we'll get all into that. But that'll come later in the show. But first, there's a little bitty show coming out in a galaxy far, far away. They're calling it Rebels 2.0, but you might know it as the Ahsoka series. The Ahsoka series, which drops on Disney Plus Tuesday, tomorrow, at 6 Pacific, 8 Central, if you're in the Central time zone. And this is in the evening, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
Otherwise, I'm calling out from work tomorrow. I was watching.
exactly. So everybody's freaking out. They're trying this out. Let's hope it sticks. It's going to be an absolute blast. Cannot wait for it. It's been so exciting because of all the little hints and the Easter eggs, the big bad that we got, all the Rebels cast that they're bringing back into this. And then they've been teasing the great one himself, Anakin Skywalker. They've been teasing his return for quite some time. So it feels like all these things are just culminating into one big special series. And over the weekend, there was a bunch of Star Wars preview events in like 5 or 6 cities, I believe. Nothing in Texas, unfortunately. But the
Mhm.
reaction has been incredible. So, JC, we'll start with you, sir.
Okay.
How hype are you for the Ahsoka show?
Very. I mean, we kind of saw this coming though. For the moments that they cast her live action for uh, Mandalorian, so
Yeah,
it made sense. They've done such a good job marketing this, which nowadays you don't hear a whole lot about them marketing anything right now with the strikes going on and everything. So, but it's very exciting to see this. I'm really anxious to see this, especially with the potential reveal of what Anakin's involvement is going to be in this, so flashbacks or otherwise. So, looking forward to that.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Retro Ray, you're up, sir. How psyched are you for the Ahsoka show?
Dude, I don't even know where to start. I mean, the latest trailer they released, of course, you see Chopper with hair on the ship and him tapping on a thing like kind of like telling her like, "Come on, you know what's going on." Dude, that right there, like I told you last time that we talked about this a long time ago, I'm a big Chopper fan. And then also Ahsoka as well. For people who didn't watch it and didn't see Star Wars Rebels, this is a character you're definitely gonna like. If you have not seen it, this will be the first time you kind of get some backstory, maybe a little bit flashbacks. You're definitely gonna like it, I think.
I'm gonna get to Joe next, but not just Rebels, right? Like even Clone Wars when
Yeah, Clone Wars.
when they brought it back for like the final season. That's peak Star Wars. I mean, they intertwined the Clone Wars with the Order 66 in Episode 2. So I'm gonna leave it at that. If you haven't seen it, like peak Star Wars. Soprano was like within the scenes, within the environment of Episode Two, and it was just incredible. So I highly recommend. What was an Episode Two? Sorry, Revenge of the Sith, Episode Three. It was just incredible. So yeah, not just Rebels, but go back and watch the final season of Clone Wars to get all that happened between Anakin and Ahsoka in that final season. Joe, what about you, sir? How hype are you for the Ahsoka series?
Not hyped at all, brother. Disney's not gonna fool me again. They ain't gonna fool me again. I ain't taking my lunch break from work to watch this nonsense, man. I'm gonna wait till after work to go ahead and take it in, see what I think of it. Because Disney likes to hype up stuff, and at the end of the day, they shit the bed. Look what happened with that freaking Book of Boba nonsense. That was Mandalorian in disguise. Like, shame on you.
And I
Shame on
already
you.
need a detox from Joe already. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm just saying, dude. They ain't gonna
We are
fool me no more.
7 minutes in.
You can just
They ain't gonna
never
fool
be
me.
happy.
No,
Never, dude. That's
Disney ain't gonna
depressing.
fool me again. They ain't gonna fool me again.
It's
Uh,
Rosario Dawson, Joe. Rosario
Yes.
here.
I don't give a shit, dude. They need to go ahead and deliver on this one. So far, the animated films have been much superior to the live action. The only one that I can say has really delivered has been The Mandalorian so far. Of the other live action, like you have the Book of Boba, that was a dud. It was all over the place. It was just ho hum. Even the season finale, I was just like, man, thank God this crap is over already. It was almost as hard for me to get through as the freaking Halo series, bro. It was bad.
No, don't
Okay,
don't
hold
even
up.
start with
Well,
that.
Halo was
Hold
bad,
Nothing,
up.
dude. Book
nothing
of Boba
compares
was
to that.
bad. It
Nothing
was
is as
bad.
bad as the Halo series, dude. Okay, it's
I don't know.
down there
Book of
with
Boba was
the
right there,
original
man.
Mario Brothers
It
movie.
was
So
bent
don't
to doo
even.
man. It was
Don't
bent
even.
to doo.
Oh God.
If anybody's wondering, the Ahsoka series is going to have 8 episodes, and you're going to get the first two mañana.
They better be good,
Um,
or else I'm out. I'm out. I don't care about nostalgia. Deliver.
Absolutely. And listen, I also have another reason to be excited. Let's get to the comment first. Star Wars Stuff Podcast, our friends over at Star Wars Stuff. Ahsoka very well might be the start of the next phase, so to speak, in Star Wars, introducing some new important elements. Absolutely. John Cena's in the chat saying Halo was blasphemy.
It was, man. It was
It
horrible.
really was. We
It
all
was.
oof oof.
They
Was
killed
I the only one
the
that
whole
finished
series
that?
in episode 1 or 2 when they
I
showed his face.
I didn't even finish it. I was like, I can't watch this shit. It
I
was
think I
bad.
was the only one. Yeah.
Like I went
No.
back and wish I'd have stopped after the pilot. Then I'd have
You
been
wish
good.
they would have done that little mind erase thing that they did in Men in Black. You forget
Except
you
for the
ever saw
pilot.
it.
Yeah, like so. Yeah.
Fast Food Toy Box is in the chat giving us a thumbs up. Appreciate you being here. I have another reason to be excited for the show. Um, and this is a Ghostbusters reference. Stick with me now, all right? Just hang on. Ghostbusters Afterlife came out, it feels like it's been years now, came out some time ago, and it was the perfect movie to sort of reinvigorate the Ghostbusters franchise. Well, the cinematographer on that film was a gentleman by the name of Eric Steelberg. And Eric Steelberg just so happens to be one of these cinematographers on the Ahsoka series. And he's been putting out like kind of pictures and stuff. And so I love how beautiful uh, Ghostbusters Afterlife looked, and so I'm thrilled that Eric Steelberg is also involved with this series, and I have like really high hopes that it's gonna not only look incredible but feel incredible as well. And the cinematography helps get that point across. It has to look big because we're talking about Star Wars, and Star Wars is big. The other thing I'm really interested and excited about is that Ahsoka is kind of a better way to try and close out the Skywalker saga. This is no shade at Rey whatsoever, but
Liar.
it's so it's so disconnected from the Skywalker saga that trying to sort of close that chapter is not 100% like satisfying. Ahsoka, though, she's directly connected into the line of Master Jedi, Master Padawan, Master Padawan, Master Padawan. She's Anakin's Padawan. Never finished her training, clearly. Um, but if they can figure out like a better way of closing out the Skywalker saga instead of what they gave us in Episode 9, I will be thrilled. And I know it's a tough challenge and it's a tough ask, but all of us fans, we need closure. Like Episode 9 was not it.
No, you didn't
Uh,
enjoy it?
no, it felt like you had this like 20-foot dartboard, and you had about 1,000 darts, and each dart represents a different idea, and they were just throwing it, and like, ooh, I hit it, ooh, I hit it, ooh, I hit it. Meanwhile, like it's just way too many
It
ideas.
was all over the place.
It
The story
was
had no continuity.
it was totally disjointed, and yeah, so I'm wondering if this would kind of be a way of satisfying and putting a nice little bow and a real ending chapter on the Skywalker saga. I'm hoping we don't lose anybody on the good side, because you have all these Rebels characters coming back, and we kind of, I don't want to say we know some stuff. I mean, clearly this leads into the rest of the Star Wars universe and all that, so we can kind of infer what happens to some folks. But in a lot of ways, it's just sort of whole new uncharted territory. So I'm really excited on what they're going to do with it.
Hey, shout out to Daniel over here. He's watching Legacy of Nerd and David, Star Wars stuff. He's the first
Yo,
comment here. So shout out to both of our Countdown City brothers there.
and John
Oh
C is in
no,
the
he's
chat.
back, Ted. You got Robert Kalunga in the chat.
Uh oh,
Uh-oh.
uh oh, uh oh. John Cena says genuinely enjoyed the new Ghostbusters music and cinematography, created a very immersive atmosphere to each scene. See, John gets it, and oh my gosh,
He's back.
Rob himself. I might out him later on about Blue Beetle, but we'll cross that bridge when
How do you say beetle in español? Escarrajo.
that's where you go. Yeah. Rob says Ray is coming back. Maybe we'll get closure then. I'm kind of like Joe in that instance. I don't have a ton of confidence, but we'll see what happens.
What,
Right.
in Ahsoka or the new series with Ray?
The new series with Ray. Again, nothing to do with the actress, but like we've beat that horse dead. Like
Jeez, man.
John says, I have so much indifference in my heart if they ever go back. Yeah, I'm kind of with John there. There you go. Let's see, JC. What are some of the elements you absolutely have to see in the series?
Um, I'm gonna say there's gonna be a lot of people like myself who haven't fully seen like all of the Clone Wars and Rebel series. So I'm curious to know how they're gonna bring those people in. You're talking about, I guess, not so much of the hardcore Star Wars fans, but some more of the casual ones who have seen Mandalorian at the very least, know Ahsoka's character. Are they going to touch a bit more on her backstory that's going to draw some more fans in to want to go back and watch Clone Wars and Rebels? Are they going to tie some of those extra scenes in? Um, and I think really they need to really dive a bit into the relationship between Ahsoka and Anakin too, because at this point you've only seen on the live action piece of it her reference. I've seen what that does to somebody, emotional attachments have done, why she refused, to train Grogu up to that point until Luke got involved. So she, refused to get involved with that. But are they going to touch on that and maybe explain why to some more of the casual fans regarding that? So
Rob's in
yeah.
the chat saying no
I get it,
backstory.
Rob,
Go
but I
watch
mean, yeah,
Clone
you're
Wars.
you're asking more. You're trying to at least get more casual fans to go back and watch like 4 or 5 or how many seasons was it now? Clone
No,
Wars
it's
and
like
Rebels.
it's a ton, but
Yeah, it's a lot now. Yeah,
I'm
so
wondering if you can just watch the last season and like get
possible.
enough out of that,
Yeah,
because
That
like
was
I
a good
mentioned,
season.
they brought it back. They wanted to like really tie Clone Wars with Revenge of the Sith, and it was like the best thing ever. It was just incredible.
Mhm.
It honestly should have been on the big screen. I totally would have paid a ticket to
Yeah.
see those last 3
But
episodes.
Bad Batch wasn't bad either, man. That one really
Yeah,
delivered. It was
I hear.
amazing.
Oh yeah.
Rob says, "Don't waste my time. It's precious."
Exactly, Rob. See, Rob's not lying, man. He's speaking facts, dude. You want a
Uh,
flashback? Go and watch the old episodes. They're on Disney Plus.
No, the only flashback they should give, and this is just my opinion, and I talked about it on Star Wars Stuff podcast, was the scene where Anakin and Ahsoka talk for the very last time before Order 66 takes effect.
Hmm.
I would love to see that in live action flashback, because even if they show, Anakin training her live action, because basically in the, without spoilers, um, of course Order 66 kills all the Jedi's, but at the very end, when he comes out, him and Ahsoka come out, all the troopers have Ahsoka's face painted on their helmets, and they're all in the line, and then pretty much Order 66 takes effect, and they all attack her. That right there, if you can see it in live action, how she survives Order 66 in the flashback, that I think that would be what I would like to see.
I'm down. I love to see that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Joe, what else do you need to see in the show, man?
Do you want to see more of the dynamic between her and her Padawan? Ahsoka's Padawan in
Sabine?
Rebels. Yeah, exactly. Because you're seeing a little bit of that in the trailer already. And there's obviously some family issues, so to speak. There, they never really did see eye to eye, and they kind of said as such, in the trailer, just like her and Anakin. They didn't always agree, but she still respected Anakin as her master, as somebody who's training her mentor,
Right.
So I think, I mean, there's going to be a story nonetheless there, but it's interesting to see how they spin that dynamic, because a little bit of drama, a little bit of that backstory is why things went sour between them. I think that's going to be really the meat right there of this series. Is you have again the tried and true formula that Disney Plus likes to go ahead and roll out: the master and the apprentice. We've seen that, and it goes all the time. It's something that we always revisit. It seems like in or in Star Wars series that Disney likes to roll out there, and it works. It's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of fanfare there, because the fans have grown so enamored with these characters. They've been there since Clone Wars, and watched the numerous seasons that there are, and seeing some of these characters come to life on the big screen. It's really a dream come true for a lot of us geeks. But the thing is, I proceed with caution, because even though Disney does go ahead and show all these little clips that get you excited, at the end of the day, are they really going to deliver when it comes to the story, the continuity, and what direction are they really going to go in? Is it just showing you the best of what they have to offer, and the rest of the storyline is crap? That's what I'm leading, proceeding to caution with, because for all its eye candy, it can be as pretty as hell, but if there's no substance, there's no continuity with the storyline, and it flows in a good way, the pacing, all these things are important, So I'm just saying, besides it looking beautiful, I want to see how all the parts of this thing come together to deliver either a great series, or is it going to be another ho hum forgettable series like the Book of Boba?
I feel like this has been Dave Filoni's kind of master plan all this time, and by that I mean bringing Ahsoka into a live action project, bringing the Rebels into a live action series or a live action project, and really giving the fans something they've always dreamed of, right? Like, and for anybody who doesn't know, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau picked Rosario Dawson before they even started filming The Mandalorian season one. That's how far along they've been kind of planning parts of this entire journey. So for me, I feel like there's too many good things to kind of pull from. There's too many relationships to kind of to play with or to build off of. There's so many dynamics. You finally have a villain that is A, formidable, and B, someone that we're very familiar with, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Um, Kenobi, everybody knew Vader, sure, but we also knew that Vader has to survive this because he has to make it to episode 4. So I was never really like really excited for like Kenobi to face Anakin in the Kenobi series. I'm like, we know how this goes. They both walk out of here unscathed, basically. But
I don't know about unscathed. I mean, we knew it was going to happen, but we were still surprised on how that went down and how well it was done. I would say, you
it
know.
was it was well done, but it also it didn't feel maybe 100% genuine. Like,
Mhm.
does Anakin really just not try and kill him later on, and not until they meet again in Episode 4? Like, he should have been trying that entire time. Anyways,
He
getting
got
off
his
topic.
ass beat. He had to change his whole fighting style from what Kenobi did to him. You know, so I mean,
I'll buy it. I'll
you
go
gotta
with it.
look about how he fought before his life support light bright got fucked up, and you tell me he didn't make him change and rethink how he was going to approach this. So
You know what
yeah,
I always thought about in a Star Wars series? Like we always get all these, characters and they have their different fighting styles and all that. But I want to see somebody who actually can weaponize like the Metachlorians or something like that and use that against the freaking Jedi. You're gonna go ahead and use this force against me. What happens if I neutralize it? Because we've seen some of that happen if you read the comic books, like me and Kenobi always talk about General Kenobi, Um, we talk about those little lizards that they have that neutralize the force or they use the force to hunt. I want to see somebody use that in live action to like neutralize and the playing field, whether it be a Sith or a Jedi, and kind of say, okay, we've taken away that. How good are you now? You know
mhm.
I can't believe you said the M word on our stream. That's like a bad word, Joe.
what?
Midichlorians, you triggered a lot of people right now.
What? I don't give a damn. That's what they said in the series. I mean,
Joe
in the
lives to
story.
trigger Star Wars people. That's why he's
What
I,
are you
on
gonna
here.
say? They're not
I'm
midichlorians
okay
now.
with it.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it, but I
What
know
is it
that
now? What's the force? I am one with the
force is
force. The force is with
force
me.
is the force.
No, I'm his way.
Rob's Rob's right. They
What were
don't
they
M
even
doing with little
count.
Grogu?
M
they don't
What
count.
were
even say it on the shows anymore. They call it M count, and that's how
Ah,
they kind of
they're full of
bypass it
crap.
without
They're
like
full of crap.
triggering people.
You can't
Uh,
retcon all the crap that you've already done. I mean, look at what you did. You're gonna retcon the stuff in the prequels, yet you're gonna give us the shit show that you give us with Ray and all that in the new sequel. No, please, man. How are you gonna wipe that nonsense from our memories?
Rob also says in Rebels, the Phoenix Squadron has already been communicating with Ahsoka, so I'd like to see how that relationship and trust is built. Absolutely. Legacy says, "Yeah, I always get worried. We are seeing the best moments in the trailer."
Exactly. He's not being fooled either, man.
And he said season 3 of Mando was like that. It's also, I think, sort of an understanding by the fans that season 3 of The Mandalorian, I think Filoni took a step away from that. At least that's what the rumors were, and more so he can work on Ahsoka and really get it how he wants it. That may not completely be true. That's just what kind of the fans were saying, and it kind of sounds like a cop out as well. But we'll see what happens. We want to hear from you guys. If anybody else wants to let us know, what are you most excited to see in Ahsoka? Is it Admiral Thrawn? Is it the Rebels cast? Finally, is it Ezra Bridger, who we haven't seen in full live action yet?
Not
We
gonna see
have
him.
seen.
You're not gonna see him only in that little hologram.
I think they'll save him for the very end or
No,
something. They
no,
have to.
no.
They have to. They have to. Yeah, let us know in the chat below, or if you're watching this or listening to this on our podcast, you can always email us on the contact page of our website at
What if Ezra got
www.countdowncitygeeks.com.
died and all you're seeing is a replay, a last message in that little hologram?
How rude to just talk over me like that when I'm trying to give him
I
our
know,
website.
Dick.
What about it?
My goodness.
Mm.
You can always message
I haven't
us
been on the show
on
in a long time, so I don't know my.
countdowncitygeeks.com.
That's funny.
I like to step on Teddy's toes. I like to get him mad.
Ooh, ooh. You're not going to get me mad on this next topic. We're going to continue and probably finish our discussion on the Blue Beetle movie. We actually had some members of our team go and check it out over the weekend, and it's it's not something we planned, but it's kind of obvious because we all have very similar backgrounds and we all were raised in this town or in areas around this town. But it's kind of unanimous. Like each and every one of us absolutely loved it. and we all loved it for different reasons. So, JC, you and Joe haven't talked about it yet. I'm going to give you guys the stage. For now, no spoilers. And yes, before we get to you, I'm going to
Fucking
call
Rob.
out Rob for being Nesio. Rob has no idea what he's talking about.
That movie bomb big time, brother. Big time.
Rob has no idea what he's talking about. And I told him days ago to go watch Blue Beetle, and he did not listen to me. And if you ask Rob how many times he's not listened to me and regretted it, it's a lot. It's a ton. So add that
We
one
won't
up to
ever
the
admit it. He'll never admit it though. That's the thing. So,
JC. The floor is yours, sir. Your overview of Blue Beetle.
okay, spoiler free. It was. I mean, I was excited for this one to see this hero brought to the big screen when the cast was announced and everything, and it didn't disappoint, flat out. There was so. It was such a fun movie. Um, did it? You know, they gave us just enough of the storytelling and to get to the action part of it too. Kids loved it too. We took the kids to see it. They really enjoyed it, especially now with my kids being in dual language. They understood the Spanish. They were able to understand it before reading the subtitles, my wife included. But I really enjoyed all the little Easter eggs to so much stuff in Mexican American culture, and arguably one of the best cameos ever in a comic movie, and I will get to that later. So, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm interested to see what Joe has to say about this because you've been excited for this one for a long time.
Yeah, I have been,
Uh,
but man, the legacy of nerds killing me. Did Rob say Tom Holland was the best Spider-Man, but did
yeah, he
mention
did. He's wrong.
Homecoming is top Spider-Man movie? Man, they always give Rob shit for that. Dude. That's never gonna go away.
One of the greatest episodes of all time on this
Yes, it
podcast. So
is.
yeah,
You really got to go back and watch that one. That one's
yeah.
freaking hilarious, man.
Mhm.
But yeah, I
100%.
really
100%.
enjoyed the Blue Beetle. I've been singing its praises for quite some time, and I was like, this is kind of like the Raza, the Mexican version of the Black Panther. For the next generation. I mean, yes, as somebody who's already up there in age, like myself and JC, it's amazing to see what they do with the Blue Beetle as far as getting somebody as young as, you know, getting somebody young to portray the Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, and his Mexican heritage up there on the big screen for everybody to see. And it means a lot, I think, to the cultura, to the raza, because you have these young kids now that actually get to go to a movie and see a superhero movie with somebody who looks like them, and the family, they talk Spanish, you know, and not only that, but the way that they act. Because, I mean, it was true to life. A lot of the family moments there, just like any Mexican family, regardless of wealth or if you have wealth or you don't, one of the things that all Mexican familias have in common is that they're your biggest supporters in anything you do in life. Your family is there. I mean, that's why they call them the raza, your blood, because they're there, ride or die for you, no matter what. And to no end, they're your biggest supporters, but they also embarrass the living crap out of you. And we saw that too. It was just going for a simple interview, and the sisters up there, Jaime, Jaime, and the whole familia is getting into it. The grandma has to go and do the blessing, like normal, grandmas do. Your abuelita does that to you before you go on a big interview or you have a big meeting or something. Ay, bien pa acá, mijo. Let me go ahead and pray over you. You're like, all right, here we go. You know, and the tacos, they were eating tacos, So I was like, okay, they had tortilla, they had traditional Mexican, food on display, which I thought again part of the culture. I loved everything about that aspect. It was all about family, and I think that's the thing that I really came away with from watching this movie. It was all about family. It doesn't matter if you're a superhero, if you're not a superhero, you feel like a superhero when you're a Mexican family because they believe in you and they actually push you to greatness. You could do anything as long as you have your family there at your side. You can accomplish anything, and that was on full display here in this movie. And the costume I thought was great. It was very practical, you know, as far as them actually not doing a lot of CGI with the costume, and I think that really made it more realistic in a sense. The ones things that I kind of the things that I didn't really care for was like the introduction of the big bads that kind of really didn't make sense. But I know they have to have a foe in there. Uh, they're fighting and then they stop fighting because they have a flashback and then they're like,
No
Okay, we're
spoilers,
cool.
bro. No spoilers, bro. We didn't even give a
Cool
spoiler
now,
warning.
bro.
Mhm.
I'm just saying.
God damn, Joe.
I'm just
So,
saying.
in
Things
other
that
words,
weren't
it was a
so.
Dragon Ball Z moment, right? Mid
Yeah,
fight.
Dragon Ball Z moment, dude. So I'm just like, okay, things that didn't work for me, or
We'll
work,
we'll we'll talk about that in a second because
Yeah,
there's actually a great reason for that.
yeah.
And peace out to Rob who said, "LOL, catch you later."
Later, Robert.
Later, man. John says Soto corralled the action scenes with love and directed hard into every scene. It was a blast. It absolutely was, and I know I've already talked about this a number of times on this platform. But I actually watched it for a third
Man,
time
that's
this
a lot.
weekend, and the reason is because I actually took like different relatives each time to the movie,
Mhm.
and because I thought to myself like, you know what, these relatives would love it, and they sure enough did. Like, there's it's not a movie that should only be enjoyed by a certain demographic or a certain group of people, but it's definitely a movie that it looks and it feels like my background and my friends' backgrounds and my relatives' backgrounds, and the music was on like my top 10 playlist. Like all those songs on there were incredible,
You like Bad
and
Bunny?
I
except for him.
with well, you had Vicente at one point, thank God. But
Yeah.
the first
Yes,
song we hear is La Chona. I'm like, this movie's great. This is freaking awesome. I'm already at a wedding or a quinceañera. We're good. So
I've performed La Chona, like I've
I know.
played that on a stage before, and Cumbia Sampuesana is the unofficial anthem of all Latinos. Like that song is king, and they played it, and they also played Selena and all that stuff. But kind of just getting back to what I was mentioning about it. Some I don't want to get into the negative stuff about what people are saying online just yet, but I just want to say like this is true for anybody who doesn't get it, who might not think so, who don't want to watch the movie because they're not sure they're going to get it. You can still see your own family in the dynamic of the Reyes family. The way they act, the way they talk, the way they make fun of each other, the way they tease each other. All that stuff is in there. And everybody's family does it, a certain way or different way. They talk and they communicate how they communicate. But that Reyes family is like how I spoke to my siblings and to my uncles and to my cousins, and it was fantastic. I kid you not. I'm gonna say this real quick. Joe talked about the trailer scene where he's going for a job interview and the family's like cheering him on, like out in public. My wife's family love him to death. The one thing they always do is they cheer me on out in public places. Here's an example. I'm at a wedding and I am a local musician in San Antonio. I don't do it often because it takes a lot of time and stuff, but they know I'm a musician. So at this wedding, there's a live band. What does my wife's family start doing? They start cheering me on to go play on stage with this band, which in the circle of musicians, you never upstage anybody unless you know them or you're cool with it or you plan it in advance. Touching another man's guitar or playing on
And
another man's drums
yeah.
is like a no-no unless you're totally cool and you're 100% cool that they figured it out or you've talked it out. So long story short, they cheered me on. I knew I wasn't going to get out of it, so I got up. We played Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne because I was in a rock band, and even though it's a wedding, like I had to play a rock song. So yeah, played Crazy Train, totally killed it. Crowd loved it, but yeah, they will cheer my name, anybody else's name in the worst moments, and you just have to deal with it. So yeah, that is my family on the screen right there. Star Wars Stuff Podcast is putting every heart and Blue Beetle and flag and yeah, there you go. Legacy Nerd Daniel says I need to see this with a pickle with Lucas.
Lucas. A Lucas pickle.
John Cena says consent and invite always. Yeah, that's the unspoken rule in the world of musicians. I probably pissed the guy off that I was playing the bass with, but I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. I really don't have a choice. He kind of begrudgingly said, cool.
Was he
Awesome.
Mexicano?
Yeah, he was.
Oh well, he understands. He already knows.
He probably did. He probably did. And then last thing I'll say before we get to the spoilers, and we'll tell everybody before we start talking about it. Um, there was a movie that came out not too long ago, and I vaguely remember seeing something for the first time on the big screen, and I was just like, I've never seen that before on the big screen, and it blew my mind. And this also had that moment, and it's the most insignificant thing. No one's going to guess what I'm talking about, but on the table of this family, when you're in the house for the first time, you see a tortilla holder, and it's the exact same tortilla holder we all have. I tried to describe it last week. It's that one that it's not made out of wood, it's not made out of plastic, it's made out of some like indestructible, bulletproof material that lasts a
Tupperware.
1,000 years. And everybody has that same version. It comes in 4 colors,
Mhm.
and we all have it. And our grandparents had it when we were growing up, and it holds exactly a dozen tortillas, no more. And so yeah, it was on the table, and I'm like, that's the first time I've seen a tortilla holder on the big screen, especially in a superhero movie. And it sounds so silly and ridiculous, but I'm just like, okay, this is as authentic and as genuine as it gets. Spoiler territory. This is your spoiler warning. We don't want to kick anybody off, but if you really don't want to be spoiled by anything, then just pause this video, come back after you see it. It's all a big recommend from all of us, by the way. You got 4 guys here who all recommend it for different reasons. It's funny. It's emotional. The action's great. The special effects are great. The characters are great. So we highly recommend you check it out. It'll be worth it, I promise. So, spoiler warning has been given. JC, why don't you tell us 1 or 2 things that worked for you in the movie?
The music for one, definitely, and just how the family got involved. How this was really more not so much about Jaime, but just about family. That's really what this movie was about. How important family was to him and to everybody. Um, you know how important his even from the very beginning. They didn't tell him that his father had had a heart attack because they wanted him to make sure he finished school. And he's coming back, and because they knew the kind of person he was, he's going to be there for his family. What about grad school? No, I got to help the family. I got to get a job and things like that. So that really stood out to me how important that was. Um, and later on, when his father passes, like I find myself emotional, you know. Um, and even just after the final battle, when Nana says, "Okay, now we can cry," and then you feel yourself getting there the same way. It was like I was watching Coco all over again. That movie still makes me emotional, you know. So it's about family, which I think really stood out to me so much. And but it was fun nonetheless. It was a good mix of the superhero and the family, and they did a great job capturing that part of Hispanic culture.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I don't know if it's intentional. It kind of feels intentional, but that entire sequence that started with the dad and the they're not military. They're private military, I guess you want to call them.
Whatever they are, cord
They're
security
mercenaries,
forces, cord,
hired
cord
guns.
mercenaries, cord whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
When they go into the house to
Mhm.
kind of find they're looking for Jaime, but when they barge into the house and they're going room by room and they're grabbing the family and they're pulling them out, it's I don't want to say triggering, but I know that like this is all too familiar, right?
Well, I mean, you
Um,
look at the setting. It's a fictional city, but it's almost meant to be L.A. Most people don't know this, but if you look at the history of how Dodger Stadium was built, they forced people out of their homes to build that stadium.
why did I just
No,
find that out about that today? Like
you didn't know
I
about
actually
that?
I read that earlier.
Yeah, like
There's a photo of LA, the Dodger Stadium, because there's like water in the parking lot.
which might
And
be an old photo, by the way. Don't believe everything you see on the internet, but
well,
yeah,
one of the comments was, "You think that's sad? Find out about all the people they kicked out to build that thing." And
yeah.
I was like, "Oh damn."
You know, there's a 30 for 30 about Fernando Valenzuela. That's where I first learned about it. I did my research on it afterward. And like they don't tell you about how Dodger Stadium was built. Chavez Ravine was a huge Hispanic community, Hispanic neighborhood. It was thriving, and the Dodgers were coming from Brooklyn. They needed a spot for a stadium. Let's just kick all the Mexicans out. Let's force them out of their homes. Just take it from them, and give them pennies on the dollar of what their houses were worth. And it's really sad, but you know, now no one cares about it now because the Dodgers have all this history in LA, and they've won World Series and done all this. And they spend all this money, but there's still a lot of people in that area that hate the Dodgers because of that, because their ancestors, their family were forced out of their homes and their land for that stadium. So, and it's I think for them seeing that might be a bit triggering for them if any of those relatives were alive for that. Remember that.
There's actually a lot of very real events that are referenced in this movie, and they're not used to kind of make a stance or a point, even though they do. But they're used because they're actually very powerful elements of this movie, and I'll get to one later on. But Ray, I'll ask you, man. Name something that really worked for you in this movie.
I mean, I loved it. I mean, seeing this character going, of course, me being a comic book fan, um, and when they first announced him in DC, um, Keith, when they created him, of course, it's based in El Paso, is where he's originally from. Of course, they changed that in the movie. But the character himself, you get this teenager who gets the scarab, gets chosen. Um, Everything that Angel did to the movie, he took from what these two guys created the suit from Cully, for Cully drawing it, coming up with the design for the suit, and then Keith with the story behind it, and John Rogers. Um, he just took it to the next level from what they created in the comic book form. Um, I loved every part of it. I mean, I can go down a list of everything. Um, and Angel paid tribute. I mean, even though he didn't base it in El Paso, the street was named El Paso. As he pans into to the house, that's the first thing we see is the street name El Paso, which was
Yeah.
cool. And then I mean, I don't know if you guys caught it as well. I like how they bought up Gotham City in the movie as well. When you see, Jaime wearing his sweatshirt saying Gotham Law,
Yeah,
so that to me was huge because that's something that, you know, it's introducing a new DCU by doing that. But there's so much I can
let's
talk
hope
about.
so.
Yeah, well, there's so much I can go into, but I don't want to take too much. But I want to hear what Joe has to say, what he thought.
Yeah, go for it, Joe.
Yeah, well, I thought it was like this movie was, if you could sum it up, it has a lot of heart. A lot of heart. That's what at the core. This is what that movie's about: family, heart. And I really enjoyed it. When you were talking about some of the spoilers and whatnot, the spoilers, I believe, are going to be the way that they were able to intertwine the original Blue Beetle into this movie, and go back, and kind of revisit some of the lore without having it be weird, or having it thrust upon you in the beginning, with some type of weird flashback scene or something like that. They made it more personable, where, hey, we're going to go ahead and use this setting as part of the film itself, as part of the film as it's moving, through its progression from one act to another. And I thought that was a beautiful way to go ahead and segue into paying homage to the original Blue Beetle without forcing it upon you. It was very organic. It felt very real, very futuristic, even though this tech, so to speak, is pretty old already. And I thought it was kind of funny the way that the daughter says when they ask her, "Does this stuff really work? Does it still work?" And she's like, yes, most of the time. Like her dad, for all his brilliance and everything, he was trying to go ahead and invent all these great gadgets, kind of like an Iron Man, so to speak. But I guess he was kind of like limited with the technology that he had, and he was still doing a hell of a job. But she was like, yeah, it works sometimes. And then you hear that backstory when they're saying, yeah, there was the scarab actually chose somebody else, you know, and it was the guy's partner, kind of like his partner in crime. I guess, I don't know, the sidekick. I don't know if the Blue Beetle was the Batman and that was his Robin, so to speak. but the beetle chose him, and he was able to go ahead and, I guess, be symbiotic or merge with the actual beetle. And the only way that the beetle finally got, I guess, relieved of its host is because he got died. They don't tell you that specifically in the film, but then they go on, as it goes on later on, you find out that his partner actually died, and that's why the beetle is, was no longer its host. It didn't protect its host, or no longer with its host. Now it shows Jaime.
Mhm.
So even the very end scene where they're like, "Man, we need to go get Jaime. He's been kidnapped or whatever." And what do? They go in there, and the daughter, the Cord's daughter, goes in there and opens up the secret bunker, so to speak, and they have the beetle, the
Mhm.
actual ship in there. And I was like, that's pretty badass. And then they have the sister, Jaime's sister, goes and graffitis it a little bit to kind of bring in. So I think it was a good correlation. They're like something old and something new, you
Mhm.
know. And it was just a fun scene altogether. The whole family in there going to save Jaime. And that's really the way Mexican families are. It's like if somebody needs help, they're gonna drop what they do and go help them. So I thought it was kind of true to life. It was a cute scene.
John's in the chat saying, I've read that James Gunn considers this one of the first of the new DCU movies, and you are correct in the sense that he does consider Jaime Reyes, this character, as the first character of the DCU. He's been sort of confusing on the stance of the entire film being the first DCU movie because this sort of was in development before he had came on. So all I'll say is maybe nothing is set in stone with James Gunn, but yeah, time will tell exactly what happens
I wanted to
with
ask you a
that.
question, Ted.
Absolutely,
So the movie was great. I loved the movie. I loved the pacing. I thought the pacing was very good. It wasn't where it lulled a lot. It was very action packed. It moved at a great pace.
I
The
loved it.
pacing was on point. The fighting scenes were great. Everything about the film was fast action, moving along great. Keeping you entertained. George Lopez low key stole the show. He was funny as hell as Uncle Rudy with his truck taco. And again, it's something I never seen before was the tricked out Tacoma with the spoiler on the tailgate. He had
Never
that
seen
thing.
that in my life.
He
Spoiler
had
on the truck.
he had that thing Mexicaned out, man, from head to toe. But one of the things that really didn't work for me in the film, though, and that's what I was going to get with you about, is they really didn't tell you the history of the beetle. How did it get here? It was just like, oh yeah, it's alien, this and that. Maybe they'll I'm saying, okay, well that's cool. You don't also
Mhm.
always need to know, the backstory. That's cool. I'm okay with that. But I'm like, maybe they might delve into it a little bit more in a sequel, maybe kind of have the lore of
That
where it came from.
that's my guess, and yeah, if if you're, well, you should know by now. If you spoiler it at this point, but if you didn't stay for the credit scene, that's my guess where they lead into a sequel where I'm hopeful it gets a good chance to get one made. And all the reports I'm saying they expect in a box office, motherfucker, you didn't have the actors to market this, so don't give me the box office thing as the reason why you're not going to make a sequel.
It beat Barbie,
It
toppled
beat,
Barbie.
yeah, it beat Barbie, but like and I this is one of those movies that's low key. As the weeks go on and the word spreads, people are going to go see it more and
It's
more
fun.
again.
Like Rob.
It's like, yeah, right. But I think that's partially why Ted Cord has been missing, is maybe he's trying to find out the origins of it, right? Because
Yeah,
he didn't have this scarab. He was harnessing the technology to make his own sort of Blue Beetle stance, but maybe that's why he's been disappeared. Maybe he's been away researching it, trying to find the origins, and maybe he'll shed a light on it because you can't really give an origin of it if no one really knows where it came from. Like his daughter didn't know much about it.
yeah.
Victoria didn't know much about
Very
it. So
mysterious.
yeah, and Scarab. I mean,
Have you-
Kaji Daz may not say them, but they never asked her. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably I think where that's where Ted Cord's going to come into play.
I have
What
a
what I
theory though.
thought what I thought was brilliant though, what they did with this film, because Joe's right, we don't get a lot of backstory other than what they find out later in the movie. But the entire opening credits is like a very quick montage. You
Yeah.
see the scarab flying through space, it's destroying planets, and then you start seeing these newspaper clippings, and they're very quick. But if you see it 3 times, I promise you, you'll start catching stuff. It talks about Dan Garrett. Dan Garrett was the first Blue Beetle, the mentor of Ted, I believe. and
Yeah.
his suit is in the lair, and then it talks about Ted Cord, all that stuff, him going missing. It shows at the end credit scene, the really cool part that I picked up on the third time watching it was when you start seeing the picture generating on the TV screen, you get this really low shot angle at it first, and I was sitting there like, "That's an interesting shot. I wonder why they did it like that." And the reason is because there's actually a book that's on the bottom of the frame, and the book says I believe it's discovering ancient Egypt. So I think whatever Ted was doing, it involves being trapped or stuck, exploring either some sort of tomb or some sort of dimension that he fell into, some pocket dimension that he fell
That's
into,
exactly what I
Egypt.
was going to say too.
And so yeah, I think they're showing us kind of what's happening or with Ted
Yeah.
Cord that is.
I think what happened with him actually is maybe he did fall into a pocket dimension, but I think he might have found another artifact or maybe another scarab. And maybe what happened with him is that he actually kind of had like a time jump, so to speak. So maybe he's stuck somewhere, and he can still communicate with his computer some weird way, because he was a genius. Maybe he found a way to do something that can communicate across, pocket dimensions or whatnot.
Hmm.
Or maybe he was just, kind of forwarded over in time. Maybe he started at a certain point in time when he went missing. And for him, maybe it was just like a couple of seconds, but for everybody else here, it was years, So maybe he's finally coming to, through that skip, and he's like, man, I don't even know where I am, I don't even know what year this is. And he's trying to kind of get his bearings, and okay, somebody activated his computer and he's trying to communicate and say, hey, I'm still alive. Maybe he's finally had that realization that for him maybe it was just a couple of seconds, but it was years that have passed, in that span of time. So that was my theory as well, a pocket dimension or something like that. And the other thing that I was going to tell you, Ted, that really didn't work for me was the villain. you know we don't get a lot of explanation except near the end. They have a little flashback scene where the scarab says, oh, I downloaded his memories and this is what he went through. Very traumatic childhood, upbringing, being forced to be a mercenary, all his life, and even watching his own mother pass at the hands of Cord and their weapons. So I guess the way I took the scene is maybe he didn't understand or fully realize his own history, that had been kind of kept away from him,
Hmm.
so to speak, because he was, experimented on so much, you know?
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, he was kidnapped as a kid and then made to forced to be a soldier.
yeah.
But
And
I
then
mean, you figure there's some family dynamic because he's holding the locket. You think, okay, maybe that's like a,
that's
a, a
his
wife
mother.
and kid, but you don't know it's his mother.
Yeah,
You see it at the beginning of the movie, you think, oh, maybe that's like his wife, his kid is who he's fighting for. He's trying to protect them somehow. Like,
yeah,
what does she have over them? And to find out it's his mother's, it's pretty crazy.
yeah. So what I was thinking in that whole scene is that maybe they kind of messed with his mind a little bit. Maybe they
I'll tell
locked
you.
things away.
I'll tell you.
Well, we should get Ray's thoughts because he hadn't said a whole lot. I feel like
Yeah.
we're not. So.
Oh no, I
Let's
mean,
get Ray's thoughts, but I'm gonna tell you exactly what happens with
Okay.
that.
well, I mean, I get what y'all saying. I mean, I definitely agree with you. If you really stop and kind of think about it and compare it to Marvel to a certain extent, technically Ted Kord could be the Batman slash Iron Man, like you mentioned earlier, where if you think about it, the first Iron Man that was brought to us, with Favreau, where Tony Stark was creating weapons and was killing people, kind of the same preference, same storyline, but I mean, I can see, and then also too, like even George Lopez mentions in his character Rudy that he has kind of like ADD because he starts one thing and he jumps to another project that he's working on because he has all these trinkets that you can see he was working on, but he didn't finish them. So I think Ted Kord that's going to be the real backstory leading into the next. If we get this next movie, like you were mentioning, JC, that's going to be the big backstory. Is what happened to Kord, what was he doing, what did he find, and then lead into the next movie.
Yeah, but tell me, Ted, why did this? What happened with this big bad?
I'm absolutely tell you. So, like you mentioned, we get this really brief backstory montage put together from Kai Kai-
Carajas.
Kajida,
Kajida.
and she says, "I unlocked his memory. Would you like to see?" And we get this really quick glimpse of everything. We see his mother dying tragically, and yes, it was from an American-made bomb and all that
It
stuff.
was a court
But
bomb.
the really
Mhm.
quick frame that's the most important in that entire sequence was a sign that said Escuela
Oh
de
yeah.
las Americas,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
which seems sort of harmless in nature. It's like, oh, School of the Americas. I wonder what that's all about. I looked it up, and it's pretty jacked up. So this is a real life program.
Was this in
Not gonna
Panama? I'm trying to remember if that was Panama.
Venezuela.
Venezuela. Okay.
I mean, it's probably a lot of South American countries, but there was a real life program where, and look, I apologize to YouTube if like you want to take the stream down right now because we're not supposed to be talking about this thing because like I didn't learn about this in school. I'm sure you guys learned about this in school, but the U.S. government was rounding up South Americans, a lot from Venezuela, and when I say rounding up, I mean tens of thousands of South Americans went through this program. It was a very severe training program to sort of train people to take very dangerous and horrible acts on behalf of the American government. We were not training people to be soldiers to fight like for freedom. They were training people to be assassins, to be torturers, to carry out coups, to topple governments. They were basically creating their own suicide squad, but they weren't using Americans to do it. They were using people from the South American countries, and so this individual, our big bad, he was basically part of this entire program where they were brainwashing people to carry out horrible acts. Um, there's a history of people who were arrested before they could like carry out their hits or carry out taking out presidents of other countries. And every single time they figured out, they went through the school. They went through the School of the Americas, and so it's a massive controversy. They didn't even close it until like 2004 or six. That's how recent it is. And by that time, estimates are that 60,000 people went through this program. And again, I say program like lightly. It's basically probably the worst form of brainwashing that you can imagine in order to get these people to do what exactly the government wanted. So, uh, it's like
Let me guess. This
massively
was around. This
horrible.
started around the Cold War era. So all in the name of stopping communism. Back then, they didn't care as long as communism wasn't spreading. Right.
You're
I mean,
basically Susan Sarandon saying, what was it? Sacrifices must be made for the greater
sacrifice
good.
must be made for the greater good. Yeah, that was the mentality back then. Of it. So
Yeah. So why didn't he? It just seemed to me like he didn't remember anything.
Yeah,
He
that's what I
remembered
mean. Like he was
pieces.
completely brainwashed.
Yeah, he remembered pieces, but until he really merged with that scarab,
mhm.
it seems like they unlocked his memory, and then finally he remembered at the very end, when it was Jaime there ready to dispatch. And that was another telling thing too, because that's what Jaime told the scarab in the beginning: we don't kill,
We're not
and I
killers.
guess the
Yeah.
scarab, once it becomes symbiotic with him, it really remembers we don't do these things, so it stopped him from killing too, and it says we don't kill, because that was his will. So whatever his will is, it gets transferred to the scarab, and she stopped him from doing that. And then she's like, well, let me show you what's, I don't want you to kill him because look at what he's been through, so when she unlocked the memories, I think because they're both, scarabs in a way, they both share this symbiotic relationship, maybe like a hive mentality where if one shares the memories, they all share the memories. So when she shared the memories with Jaime, it unlocked the memories with the big bad, which his name is what? Carpax, I believe his name is Carpax.
Yeah.
So
Carapax, yeah.
Carpax. So once she did that, he remembered who he was, and I think that's probably why they had that moment of clarity where he's like, you know what, we need, yeah, I don't need to be fighting you. You're not my enemy anymore. The enemy is her, and what she's trying to unleash on the world, and he wanted to go ahead and stop that destruction because he's already seen enough of it. So I think at that time, that's when he's like, I'm just going to overload the suit and destroy everything. That way nobody else has to go through that. So he had a chance to go out on his own terms as a savior in a way, giving somebody else a second chance so they don't have to go through the same turmoil, that he went through as a growing up. And, like it was a very, I guess, great thing that happened at the end where you have that big bad come full circle and now he's no longer the enemy, but kind of goes out as the savior and saving the planet, you know?
Yeah, and if anybody, I've had a lot of conversations with people
Yeah.
online about this. If anybody's confused, like whether or not he actually remembered anything, it was
It,
a line he says to uh, Cord, forget her first name,
Victoria.
Victoria Cord. He says, "I remember everything now." Like
Yeah.
he tells us right then and there, he went from remembering nothing to remembering everything, and yeah, went and took
Even
out his
says
revenge.
sacrifices
Seeing
must be made for the
for the
greater
greater
good.
good.
Yeah.
Seeing a vision of his mother walking to his mother, like this is all very powerful stuff,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
completely.
And
And
she
even
was seeing its
even
time, you know.
even right before that, I was in shambles for a lot of this movie.
I
But Jaime,
the dad.
Jaime again stopped from killing him by Kaijida, and she's like, we're not gonna do this. And he's like, what about my dad? And I'm like, dude, this is great stuff, man. This is great stuff because you don't get this stuff. For anybody that says this is a buy the formula or carbon copy of other superhero movies, like I'm telling you, if you pay attention, there's so many elements of things that we've never gotten to see before. So I thought
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
I think the elements that it has in common is that you always have, and that's the thing that superhero origin stories all share in common. Somebody has to die in order for the hero to meet his true potential. Because when you go back, and even you've heard Stan Lee talk about why Spider-Man had to have Uncle Ben die, and all this.
Because
It's
it's a
something.
canon event. It's a canon event, right? We
It's a
learned that from
canon
Spider-Man.
event, but the more important thing is every time somebody dies, like a parent figure, when your parent dies, then that child or that person can finally meet their true potential. And that's why they go ahead and do these things in superhero origin stories. This was no different, in that regards. But there was a lot of differences in this movie compared to other movies that came before it. I think it kind of sets itself apart in the DCU as it being unique, and not only that, but it's also, again, it's a movie that's full of heart, and I really enjoyed it. Not because, oh, I'm Mexican and I went up there and I saw the Mexican family up there. It was a really well done movie. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time, and I can't wait to watch it again, maybe next week or this weekend, should I say, because I believe one of my friends told me this Saturday or Sunday it's going to be like National Movie Night. So they're going to have
Yeah,
movies for
National Cinema
$4. Yeah,
National Cinema
$4.
Day.
Yeah. So $4, man, you can go out there and watch a movie, and you can go and catch up with movies, or you can go ahead and watch like my friend, he's gonna go watch what was it called? Oppenheimer. It's on August the 27th, this Saturday. So four
That's
dollars.
Sunday. Sunday.
Sunday, okay.
Yeah.
Sunday. So you can go out and watch a movie with the family for $4. Can't beat it.
Nice.
John's in the chat saying, feel like leaving it a mystery as a writer would give Ted Kort some skin in the game and credibility to the dynamic of the sequel by allowing him to explain the origin and tying him the characters as the wealth of knowledge. 100%.
For
And
sure.
you know what's really going to happen if we do get a sequel, and I'm really hoping for a sequel because the director Angel Manuel Soto has already talked about, hey, listen, there's plenty of things we can do in a sequel. Black Beetle is at the top of that list. Going into the origins of the Scarab, which is that it was created by the Reach, which is a very advanced alien civilization. So you could get Ted Kord saying, I had to leave because I was trying to stop this from happening.
Yeah.
I was trying to stop that person from coming around here. And so, yeah, I'm 100% all in for it if they want to do it because Young Justice season 2 was all about Blue Beetle, and Jaime Reyes and Black Beetle and the Reach sort of coming to Earth, and first being very covert about their invasion, and then they were sort of open and started manipulating the entire planet into welcoming them in their invasion. So yeah, I would totally be down to see something along those lines. If you haven't seen it, go check out Young Justice season 2 on HBO Max, now known as Max, and you'll get a great storyline regarding Blue Beetle, Black Beetle, and the Reach. All very very well done. John says favorite duo of all time was Blue Beetle and Booster Gold bromance. Need to see it.
I mean, you saw it in
100%.
Smallville. I don't know if people
Yeah.
realize this is only the second time we've seen Blue Beetle live action. First was Smallville, and it was one of the final episodes of the series. And there was actually the only appearance of Booster. It was actually the episode called Booster Gold there, and allude to that and everything. They kind of kicked that part off of it too, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a good episode. I love that episode.
Which, by the way, that episode was directed by Tom Welling. That was the last Smallville episode that he directed. So he started
Wow.
getting into that. Yeah. So
Star Stuff Podcast says James Gunn has stated in so many words, we will see Jaime again. And listen, I am not saying do not trust that man.
yeah,
But what I am saying is, studio executives and what they say don't have a lot of credibility these days. And so, if he says it, I will believe him. But I'm also going to wait and not hold my breath because I will wait until like it's on the screen. Hey, we thought we were going to get a Batgirl movie, and look what happened. So, like, I'm
yeah,
telling you, anything these days, anything can happen. So unfortunately, it's just the wild world that we live in. Cool.
True.
Well,
can we
we
get to the
saw.
lighthearted stuff, like the fun part of this movie, like all the little things that were just so much enjoyable?
Yeah,
Because I
absolutely.
feel like we haven't done that yet.
I
So
I I know that everybody kind of feels this way. George Lopez was hilarious in this movie from start to finish. I don't know if they gave him all these lines or maybe he probably helped uh, improvise them a little bit. But
probably,
just from like the opening time we see him and he's blaring the horn with his knee on, and not the first time we see him, but when he's going to his interview and he's like hitting the horn with his knee, screaming Jaime,
yeah,
Jaime. So funny. Everything. When he saw his truck driving away and he passes out, I died. I like literally died laughing. I like hit the floor. It was so funny. He was just insanely hilarious in this movie, and he was perfect for it. And for anybody who says I don't find George Lopez funny, I'm telling you, this wasn't the George Lopez you know entirely. Like one or two moments, you probably saw a little bit of, George from his stand-ups or whatever, but everything else was just brand new and refreshing, and just very scenario-based, funny moments.
yeah, yeah. George, you say that because my wife has said this too. There's a lot of people that just are tired of George Lopez's stand up because it's the same shit over and over. He hasn't really done anything new to it, But as an actor and the way he portrays these characters, he's awesome. And he was just there's so many different cameos of Mexican American singers, comedians, actors. Even the novella that was referenced, my wife
Oh,
was like singing
Maria
along.
del Barrio.
She watched that as a kid with her mom, so she was just like singing along the theme song. Felipe Esparza getting all crazy with El Chapurin showing up on the security screens, which was
Nice.
hilarious. So it was just enjoyable, and even little pop culture references in there as well. They referenced two video games that I wasn't expecting to. It was pretty
They
cool.
even had a song. I think they even played Selena.
They
Yeah.
played Selena.
Yeah, they
That
played
showed
Beat
up.
Beat Mama. They had to.
Yeah, of course. So,
They had to.
but I
And
love
even
the little throwing in Mortal Kombat and Final Fantasy in there too
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
Get
So
over
I'm
here.
glad. I'm
yeah,
glad somebody
yeah,
else caught that. Yeah, he's like, "Get over here!" I was like,
caught
"Yes."
that, and then busted out Cloud's Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII, and even Clem Hazard. I was like, oh hell yeah! There's the geeks in all of us. Loving that. So
And I felt like when he hits Carrot Packs with that like massive blast towards the end of the movie. He's like in the air screaming "Kaiji da." Felt very Dragon Ball Z to me. I'm not the biggest Dragon Ball fan, but I'm like
Right.
I feel like I've seen that scene somewhere. So I think that's over there. So
I
yeah.
mean, even down to the Cord's tech, the Power Glove, the Game Boy,
The
those,
Power Glove, man.
yeah.
Yes, that
In
took the
real
back.
life, that Nintendo Power Glove was garbage, man. But it was a good reference nonetheless.
But in the Wizard, it was so good. It was
Oh
bad.
man,
You
that
know.
thing never worked, dude. It was pure garbage, man.
I never got
One of
it.
my friends had that thing when I was a kid, and he's
Oh
like,
no way.
"Come over to the house. I got the Power Glove and this and that." Man, he put that thing on. He was so disappointed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
Nana was hilarious as well.
Nana was great.
Everything she was doing, even when she like picked up and she like pulled the pin out of her hair and like let her
Right.
braids fall down because she
Yeah.
was going into like guerrilla warfare mode. I'm like that. I loved every freaking second of it. It was hysterical. Star Safaka says, "I still have my power glove."
I think I actually have my zapper still somewhere here in a super scope,
Oh yeah, I
probably in
got
the
a zapper
closet.
here somewhere.
Yeah. So
John says Jason Sudeikis, Blue Beetle, and Matthew McConaughey as Booster Gold. Make it
okay.
happen, Soto. I love it.
I had a when they did show the painting, I thought that kind of looks like Jason Sudeikis. I could potentially see that, but I hadn't thought he would play Booster. But Matthew McConaughey, yeah, that I
Please.
think that'd be please, yeah, exactly. But you guys are
Uh,
forgetting like the greatest cameo in like all of movies right now.
oh, Chapolin?
Vix.
Oh,
Vix. Vix is canon in the DC universe, people. It's the ultimate. How bad you're knocked out. Vix was probably it got the biggest laughs in the entire theater. Was the Vix was so funny.
The one thing they didn't do was the egg, the ojo.
Yeah, yeah,
Ah,
I was waiting for that. Yeah.
yeah.
I was waiting for him to sing the song "Sana Sana Colita de Rana." You know?
The only thing that they missed, everything else is in there. That's the only thing they
It's
missed.
got to be an outtake somewhere. I mean, I just wait for the deleted
They were
scenes or
putting the
outtake.
Vicks on him, you know.
Yeah, Vix,
Esa la
man.
Vicks.
Vix is now DC canon. It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what's also fantastic is that one of the creators of the comic book character Jaime Reyes actually lives in Austin.
Oh
So
yeah.
Warner Brothers put on a private screening for him last Wednesday in Austin at the Alamo Draft House. Why do we love Alamo Draft House? For the stuff they give you at their movies. So we go and we sit down, and one of the things they gave us, I don't have it up here, was a fan for that had Blue Beetle on it. The other thing was actually a box of Vicks Vapor Rub.
Eh,
They actually gave that to you at your seat. And for people who had not seen the movie in advance, they're like, "What the hell is this for?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Just wait, it's all gonna make sense in about an hour." So yeah, shout out to Alamo Draft House on South Lamar for just getting it. They totally get it. They understand it. We had a great time. Yeah, freaking fantastic. They didn't have to go this great, you know what I mean? Like they didn't have to really spend this much effort on the elements, on the story, on the characters, on making sure that they had room to build lore. Uh, Dan Garrett, Ted Cord, the entire Blue Beetle layer. They didn't have to go like this far into it, and they absolutely did. And I love them even more for it. It feels like this movie really could not get any better,
For
honestly.
sure.
yeah. The only thing I didn't see in the movie, I don't think I saw, was like somewhere on the table or something. I didn't see like pan de dulce, like the concha or anything like that. That's the only thing I was missing.
I was I was checking, every time I watched, I was looking for something new. In the kitchen, my wife absolutely hates this stuff, but on top of the sink, a bottle of Fabuloso,
Yeah.
because
Mm.
she says it is like the worst smell ever. It like burns your nostril hairs off. It's just so strong.
Burns the lungs, man.
It
That's how
really
you know it's
does.
working, though. I mean, come on.
That's why it's a staple in the Mexican household, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Te quema.
Mhm.
That's how you know it's working.
You got to smell it to know it's working,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like my
Yeah.
grandma always tells me, when they clean with bleach or whatever, you can't breathe and you go out, no tiene nada, no es nada.
If Vicks were smart, they would do this tomorrow. Make a Blue Beetle
Okay,
license Vicks
John, you
bottle.
say that, and let me just preface this by saying this. When I got my Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 on Blu-ray, it came with the coupon for Windex.
Oh
Now
man,
I'm just saying, Blue Beetle out there, when you DC, when you guys put this on Blu-ray, give us a coupon for VIX. I mean that'd be great marketing right there, you know. So I mean, why not?
I
Um,
don't know. The common folk know how to use the VIX though.
they'll learn. I mean, they got a clue on how to use it in the movie, and then they'll start researching and figure it out. So you know,
Yeah, there's a
yeah,
thousand ways to use the Vicks. Let's just
yeah,
say that.
The only thing that works better than the VIX is when you pair it with an Sprite.
yeah.
You know what else? Like, really, this is what really blew my
Menudo.
mind. What really blew my mind is that I think I counted 4 English curse words uttered in this movie, if I counted correctly.
Mhm.
In Spanish, there's like 20, and somehow this movie's PG-13. Somebody at the MPAA rating system has no idea how to do their job because they got away with murder. Like
I
every
mean, they weren't
time.
that bad, you
Yeah,
know. I
or
mean,
Oh
that.
yes, they were. I know
nah.
exactly what they are because I got hit every time I said them as a kid. Um, I was
You got hit
I
with the.
was I was laughing just as hard whenever I would hear something said in Spanish and the English translation would leave the biggest words out of it, man,
Yeah.
the best words out of it. I'm like, that's hilarious, and I wish everybody else knew exactly what was being uttered because so every single person in that family was like dropping f bombs and mother is and that, and I'm like, this is amazing.
So what you're saying is when we get the director's cut of Blue Beetle, it will have the actual translated subtitles correctly, possibly.
Maybe.
That's all they're
Possibly.
going to change for the film. Is just
I
the
did like
voice.
though George Lopez's nickname for Jaime, Cabezon.
This
Cabezon,
one,
ven pa'
yeah.
acá, Cabezon.
John says, oh, John says that they don't know it's true healing power.
Oh man, no,
Referencing the Vicks Vapor Rub.
it cures
What Joe,
everything.
what Joe brought up a good point with the chancla thing. If you look back at that one scene where Lopez throws his shoe at him, thinking that he would turn him into the Blue Beetle.
It should have been a chancla, and that would have made a little bit
Yeah,
more sense.
that
Yeah, that for sure.
But oh, that's another thing. The word chingladera was like uttered in a superhero movie. I was trying to get the chingladera out, and I'm like, oh my god, that's awesome, because that's just the word for everything.
Yeah.
Like when I go to my uncle's house and I'm helping him
Thing.
like work on his vehicles, like, hey, hand me that over there, and I'm like, what? He goes, the chingladera over there. I'm like, oh, okay, like I know what he's talking about. But yeah, no, that's heard that a million times, man.
and then he also they used Joe's word, no mames.
Yeah, no
Oh.
mames. That's what I like telling Teddy when he says he's gonna be on time. I said, no mames, Ted.
No mames. And I'm like,
You know
Joe,
what?
I'm eating my tacos, Joe. No, another 10 minutes.
Mom is.
Ted says 10:15. You know, add another 15 to that. He'll be right on time.
Huevos, Waffles was also said.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
it was. Put those huevos away.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Amazing, hilarious.
The
All of
scene
it.
where he first
All of
became
it.
the Blue Beetle was hilarious. Everybody screaming and yelling.
Oh God, there was your bloody murder freaking out. That was so great. Yeah.
And then Uncle
Yeah.
Rudy gets dispatched right away, gets knocked out. He's the one screaming the loudest. It's on your face. It's on your face.
And
Uh,
the music playing during that sequence was perfect too. It was I forget what it was right now, but it would played perfectly into that whole scenario. I also want to say that like there's probably only one English song played during this entire movie, and it's Kickstart My Heart by Motley
Oh
Crue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? This is amazing. We're getting this like fight montage with a Motley Crue, and yeah,
yeah. And the Beetle.
sometimes the Latinos need to have their own fight sequence behind a Motley Crue or an ACDC or just one of those things. You know what I mean?
I think one of my
So
best,
it's great.
one of the best weapons in that whole sequence there was the bug fart. That was freaking
Yes.
man.
Stealth mode, bug fart. Yeah.
Bug
I was
fart.
I was trying to figure out how that was stealthy. It just knocked everybody out.
Knocked everybody out,
The
Yeah,
smoke. Yeah.
and then you hear it making that noise. It's like
Yeah.
and it's spinning around and everything. It was hilarious, dude.
yeah, man. What a wild time. Yeah, that's why I've seen it this many times, and it like still holds up. The jokes still hit, the emotions still hit. Um, the sequence, seeing his dad in what we assumed to be the afterlife, was powerful. Like
Hmm.
just the visual that you kind of see
And all
with
the
all
candles.
the candles that just go on for forever, for
Yeah,
infinity. It's like,
that had my wife in shambles, man.
man, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a powerful, powerful visual. And anybody from any sort of background or ethnicity, I hope they agree, because it's just like never seen anything like that.
More powerful than that scene was what the dad was saying. He's like, even though he wasn't there, he was saying his goodbyes. He was like, "This was my purpose, was to kind of be your father for this moment, you know."
Yeah.
And everybody in the theater that probably hit you hard, you know.
Hmm.
As I look over at my wife, and she's like totally destroyed.
Yeah, John, definitely Coco for sure.
Yeah.
That
I
just it was just as emotional.
It
Yeah.
took me a second. I thought those were actually the orange petals, like everywhere. I
The
thought those were the
marigolds.
orange
I
flowers.
was
Yeah,
waiting for those to make an appearance there. That would have been crazy. Yeah. So
I thought those were
yeah.
them. Like, oh no, they're candles, but still,
Yeah.
still great, still amazing.
Yeah.
Star Stuff Podcast says the fart was at the end of the fart was a cherry on top of the bug.
Bug fart.
Oh,
Uh,
jeez. Uh, look. I mean, what we're saying, like, there's nothing that we haven't discussed. It's like enjoyable throughout. Everything has a purpose. Everything has meaning. There's no time wasted. It's just crazy fun ride with this Reyes family.
Oh,
We
let me tell
desperately need a sequel.
JC, did you see Ryan's take on the Blue Beetle? His review?
no, because I stayed away from anything before I saw
Well,
it.
hang on.
Yeah.
The written one was a guy on his team.
No, I know that,
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
but I'm just saying Ryan seemed to like it. You know, he didn't like really crap on the movie, so I want to
Uh,
talk with him a little bit more and see what he kind of thought about it. But the
okay.
guy on his team that wrote the review, I was just like, oh my god, bro, what
I'll
would you
see.
do?
I gotta get together with Ryan soon because uh we got some reality shows that are wrapping up and starting up that we got to talk about for our Island Reality podcast. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about. So,
Next challenge. Next challenge is here.
it's already here. Temptation Island's wrapping up this week, and that was one of the wildest fucking seasons ever too. So yeah, so Ahsoka's coming just in time, but yeah, for sure. The
Big
challenge
Brother, I
USA has
think,
been,
is
huh?
wrapping up too. Big Brother was wrapping up too.
Big Brother's getting there. Love Island's been good. There's a lot, and the challenge USA is. I've been waiting for a format with three teams because Cutthroat's one of my favorite challenge seasons. So I'm really enjoying this one so far. 4 episodes in, and I'm glad we're getting 2 episodes a week too. So,
But dude, I just saw what you're wearing right now.
oh, because they beat your Red Sox.
Hey, but where are they? Where are they still in the standings in the wild card? They're still behind the Rays, man.
That's fine. We'll catch up. We got them right where we want them.
I
Still
don't
got
know, man. The
plenty
Rays
of
are a
time.
sneaky good team this year,
That's
man.
okay. The Rangers
Sneaky
are going to
good.
choke, and we're just going to overtake the Rangers. We'll win the division. That's all I
Oh
care.
my god!
That's
I
what's going
already
to
know how
happen.
Astros fans think. All we need to do is just get there. We just need to get into the wild card.
That's all we need. Dude,
No,
don't lie, because you just get the Astros in the playoffs. You know we're a scary team. So
I don't know, man. This year, I
yeah,
don't know, man. I just don't got that confidence in your team anymore.
it's a
Didn't
different
they
team
The
just
this year.
win a
Rangers are
title?
legit, JC. The Rangers are
The
legit.
Rangers are going to choke, dude.
You'll
The
see.
Rangers are going to choke.
You'll
They're going
see.
to choke. They always do. So
Well, I think this is a great place to sort of wrap up here. Um, this is like the third time we've talked about this movie, and yet we're still finding new things to appreciate about it, and how we all, enjoyed it in different ways, and also very similarly, right? How we enjoyed it.
It wouldn't
So
be
we
a
want to.
Geekcast without the appearance of your daughter, man.
yeah,
It would not. Who's supposed to be asleep, but it is what it is.
She is
We
freaking
want to hear from you
hilarious.
guys. If you enjoy Blue Beetle, let us know. What?
Your daughter is freaking hilarious, man. I just remember
yeah.
the conversation I had last
I
time
missed
with
it.
her, when me and Ted.
If you want,
Oh, he's
You're
getting
getting delayed. That's why. Yeah.
he's
So
a delay.
He's delayed. Can you hear us, Ted?
Can you hear us, Ted? I think it's catching up, like it's buffering.
Yeah.
I can kind of hear you.
Oh, he's delayed by like 30
Yeah.
seconds.
All right, I'm here again. You'll hear me?
Yeah, you're
Yes.
here. No, I was saying your daughter was hilarious because I remember the last conversation I had with her is when we were all hanging out over there at that Big Hops, and she
Mm.
looks right at me and she's like, "I don't like food. I like sugar." She had me
Uh,
dying, dude. She's like, "Daddy's gonna take me to go get what did you say, a snack or
Mm-hmm.
dessert?" Yeah,
Unfortunately, it's the only way to bribe her these days is with
yeah.
desserts. But yeah, this has been a great discussion. So many incredible projects that have been happening, and hope to get more just like this, right? The
mm,
first ever Latino superhero solo film, which is hopefully not going to be the last, but definitely much needed and well executed. And the fans and critics both agree. Critics is in the high 70s, fans is in the low 90s. Like, they really love this movie on Rotten Tomatoes. And we want to hear from you guys at home. Let us know what you thought about Blue Beetle. Drop your comments in the chat, or you can always email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowncitygeeks.com. Be sure to keep following up with us, because just because the summer season is over doesn't mean we don't have more movie passes to give away. Yes, the summer movies have come and gone, but the fall releases are coming up, and we're going to continue to give out movie passes in our hometown of San Antonio, as well as the surrounding metropolitan areas: Dallas, Houston, Austin, even El Paso sometimes. So be sure to follow up with us and find out when we're giving away more passes to some of your favorite movies. And that'll do it for us. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you all. For the Countdown City Geeks, my name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me once again, making his triumphant return, is man, the myth, the legend, you know him as JC.
Thank you everyone for watching and listening. Check out the Kansas City WrestleCast this week. AEW All In breaking the record for biggest attendance for a wrestling event. Yes, breaking WWE's record at Wembley Stadium is happening this weekend. We're going to be talking all about it. So be sure to tune in this Wednesday night. So
That is wild. We also got the man behind the magic, Joe Garcia.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you thought about the Blue Beetle. And yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting, Ted. He was trying to tell you to go to the website, countdowncitygeeks.com. That way you can see everything that the Countdown City Geeks are doing. And also make sure you subscribe, like, and share on this video because we do all this for you, the fans. And JC, it's really nice seeing you, man.
you too, and you mentioned the website. I'm working on my first article for the website because I've been waiting
Nice.
for something to happen. SNK just announced when they're releasing their rollback netcode for Samurai Showdown, a game that is near and dear to my heart. It's been wanted for a while, and they're finally pushing it out next month. So I'm working on a little article about my thoughts on it, just the fighting game community in general, and what this means to me personally playing this game for so
Cool.
long. So it's in the works, but I might need some help how to post it on the site. I haven't done it yet, so
I'll help
I'll
you,
let
man.
you
If
know.
you need some help,
Yes,
reach out. Reach out
yeah,
to me. I got you.
for
Hey, and
sure.
by the way, too, I just finished talking with my friend Carolina Teague earlier today, and she said that she's already scheduled to go ahead and come out on an upcoming episode of the Countdown City WrestleCast.
Very nice.
Yep.
That's probably something Mike and Tommy are working on. I'm so proud of both of them. They're doing a fantastic job. So
Yep.
I'm very proud of them, and it's been a wild ride. Where we just celebrated last week our 5-year anniversary of the WrestleCast.
Damn, that's 5 years already, dude.
Five
Great
years on the
accomplishment.
17th. Thank you. So
Congrats.
it's a wild ride. Time does fly, and so it's pretty awesome to see. So
Yeah,
It
we need
is.
to have a watch party soon, man, where we can go and watch wrestling with you guys.
It's in the
yeah,
works. It's
it's
in
in
the
the works for
works.
sure. So
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
And let's see. Last, never least, he's got something cooking up this week himself. The one and only Retro Ray. Tell him about it, Ray.
Hey guys, just keep in touch with the page and the podcast. We're in the works of trying to get Keith who actually created Jaime Reyes for the comic, to come on to the podcast. And then also we're working on Cully, who actually came up with the Blue Beetle suit. So just follow us. We're working on a bunch of stuff.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great night. And tomorrow we all celebrate, hopefully, the release of the Ahsoka series. Peace.
Peace.
Letters.
So